So you're pretty handy. You've got some skills and a bucket of tools. But are you really sure how to fix that faucet or repair that hole in the wall? And what would it take to do a remodeling project yourself? If you're unsure, even a little bit, hit the pause button on those projects and take a listen to Contractor John, or you might end up singing the DIY blues. Welcome to the DIY House Medic Podcast. The doctor is in.
In the house, Contractor John is in the house. As Roy said, the doctor is in. Kind of like that Quincy ME show from the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Remember Quincy? He always had to get to the why of everything. So that's what I do. I always have to get to the why of everything. So, hey, in this episode today, I got a question to ask you. Do you have a fresh air house? That's my question for today. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So, as always, you can access all the information I talk about, the links, all that kind of good stuff, right in the show notes right here at DIYHousemedic.com. And if you want any other resources, click over to ContractorJohn.com. All right? And questions? Got a project you're working on and you got a problem? Head on over to Contractor John Facebook page. As I said, link in the show notes. And ask away, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, hey, a little present, a little bonus for you guys today. So I'm going to include a cheat sheet for all my listeners this week. It's a wood screw pilot hole guide. All right, common sizes of screws, drill bit size, pilot hole size, and a countersink size. All laid out on an Excel spreadsheet for you. You can laminate the thing. You can stick it in one of those clear plastic covers they use in the 3-ring binders to hold papers and stuff. Keep it in your workshop. It's a great cheat sheet to have. So you're not splitting wood and all that kind of good stuff. So head on over to ContractorJohn.com. Top of the page on the right-hand side. If you subscribe, I'll send you that cheat sheet right out. Okay. And then the first person, I did this last week too, the first person today that goes to the Contractor John Facebook page and posts a comment about the project that they're doing or even that they're planning to do and post a picture of it, I will send you out a copy of my book, The Dimension Bible for DIYers and Remodelers. I will send that to you in the mail, all right? All right, so let's just jump right into today's question. Do you have a fresh air house? All right. Now, all houses are drafty to some extent. Older homes seem to have more of that, I'm doing air quotes right now, fresh air flowing through them, all right? Now, when we're talking about drafts, I mean, most people feel them or say something about them in the wintertime, the cold air drafts, right? But you gotta remember that if the cold air is getting in the wintertime, then the hot air is coming in the summertime when you're using air conditioning. The draft is a draft. It don't know any different, all right? So you can check and find those drafts and stuff in the summertime too. So, and then stopping that draftiness is a great way to just save energy, and therefore you're going to save dollars, right? All right, before we start talking here, I want to differentiate. Are we talking about a house that's already completed or a house that's under construction, like a new construction home, all right? If we're talking about an existing completed house, then you can improve some of that or correct some of that draftiness, but not as much as you can if it's a new construction home, all right? Now, if it's a new construction home, there's, construction products and methods that you can use to virtually eliminate all those kinds of drafts. And there's this energy code, 2015 Energy Building Code, and it's gone a long way to energy efficiency in a home and stuff. It actually regulates the amount of ACHs. Now, who listened to the first podcast, if you did, you'll remember what ACH is, because I talked about that in the very first podcast. ACH is air changes per hour. So the code, that 2015 Energy Code, actually regulates the amount of ACHs that your house is allowed to have. Now, there's a lot of aspects of this energy code, but for today's conversation, we're only going to talk about the part that addresses the ACHs, right? Now, right now, the current acceptable or passing, again, air quotes, grade or level is 4 air changes an hour. So what they do, like in a new construction, and you can have this done in an existing home too, all right? They measure the ACH by performing what they call a blower door test. Basically, everything in the house is closed up, and they put this barrier inserted in one of the exterior doors, typically the front door. There's a port in that canvas cover, like, if you will. There's a large fan that's hooked up to there, and then there's a computer that's tied into it too. The fan's turned on, and it creates negative pressure inside the house by sucking air out of the house. And then the fresh air that enters the house through all the leaks you have cannot be more than 4 air changes an hour. Now, the test itself takes like 5 seconds or something, but they can tell, the computer knows through the magic of computers, who knows how they do half of what they do. So it knows somehow. It's kind of like a thermos, right? Smartest thing in the whole world. You guys know that, right? I mean, you put cold stuff in it, keeps it cold. You put hot stuff in it, keeps it hot. How do it know? Yeah, smartest thing in the world. Anyway, I digress there. Sorry. So I think that where they're going from this 4H air changes an hour, I think they're going to take that down to 3 and eventually down to 2. All right. Now, with I've talked about this before too. With a level as low as 3, you're going to need to introduce fresh makeup air into the house, which, in my opinion, it's ridiculous, right? The rate of return on that is just minuscule, and I don't get it. With levels in that 2 to 3 air change an hour, the house is just too tight. You've got these indoor pollutants. You've got cleaning products. You've got scented candles, off-gassing from carpet, furniture finishes. All kinds of things contaminate the air inside the home. It's too tight. And if you make it so tight, you got to bring fresh air in. Well, that should tell you something right there. So, and I know there's a whole process to that. If you open it, if you have a draft, and that ice cold air is coming right into heated space. Temperature outside's 10 degrees, and it comes right in at 10 degree air comes right in the house. I get that. If you're bringing makeup air in, the theory is that you bring it in, you transport it through part of the basement or wherever the furnace is in a pipe, and as it travels the length of that pipe in conditioned space, heated or cool space, it's going to temper that air, so when it really gets introduced into the actual inside of the home, then that air is tempered somewhat, and it's not 10 degrees outside stuff. I mean, I get the theory and everything behind it. I don't know. I think you can ruin the whole theory if you open a door and leave it open for 2 or 3 minutes, letting guests in. I think you've blown the whole thing. So anyway, just my opinion. And again, now living in that house, you're going to open exterior doors. You're going to open a door to garage. You may even crack a window in the evening to sleep. And a number of times that door gets open, in part, it's going to depend on how many people live in that house. So that's going to be a variable that they can't measure, right? The blower door test measures a static home. It's just the way they can measure it. There's not a reliable way to measure it when you're actually living in it, because we're in and out and stuff in that. So you just can't do that. So. All right, now, in an existing structure, you can test and find where those major drafts are coming from, and you're going to work to correct the worst ones first. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, a major point of leakage is in the top of the foundation wall. So if you go down your crawl space or your basement, and right where the foundation wall stops, the concrete foundation wall, the cinder block foundation wall, whatever it is, right at the top there where the wood sill sets on top of that wall, that's going to be a leakage spot. Now, I know they put a sill seal foam, or older homes, they put a little piece of fiberglass underneath there. I get it, okay, but it still leaks from there. Trust me. If you turn all the lights off and you go down there and you get on the ladder and you keep your eyeball right about that level of that gap between the wood and the concrete or the cinder block, you'll see daylight in spots. So take care of that. Caulk that whole seam from the foundation wall to the wood sill. Caulk that seam all the way around the foundation, all right? Now, another place you want to get is where the hose bibs or the silcocks are located and where the air conditioning lines go outside. Those are going to be big ones. Now, the holes around there sometimes get kind of big. So what you might want to do, and if you've got a problem with rodents, then this is going to be worth its weight in gold. Take some steel wool and pack it with steel wool and then caulk it or foam it. The mice, they won't eat through that steel wool. They do. They eat it. They ingest it, tears up their insides, and you won't have a mouse left to come in the house anymore. So they really just, they won't go through the steel wool. They know better. Take one bite of it, bingo, they're done. You do that and then use the foam. Now, if you're going to use foam, be careful you don't use a super big expanding one. It expands like 3 to 4 times. Use the one that expands 1 to 1.5 to 2 times. You don't want to use that super duper expanding stuff. And if you're going to do it, you might as well use the flame retardant foam. It comes out red instead of that off-white yellow stuff. All right, and it's just it's just safer. Okay, if you ever do have a fire or whatever, it's going to help seal stuff up in drafts and stuff like that, and it won't burn too. So use that. Great stuff. They got the big box stores. I think it's $1 or $2 more a can, but it's well worth it. So just flame retardant foam. So now if you pick a windy day and you use like an incense stick or even a wooden matchstick, you can see, I'm doing air quotes, the draft. All right, that smoke trail from the incense stick is really the way to go if you can. That's the trick. Hold it next to the window, the electrical openings, any opening really, and just see how the smoke blows. The more movement, obviously, the smoke trail, the stronger the draft, right? So after you identify those major areas, then you got to use appropriate material to seal those areas. Now you're going to want to do it on outside walls, outlets, wall switches. They make these, they make gaskets that go behind those wall plates. So if you pull that plate off, if you find you're getting leakage from there and stuff, pull that wall plate off, put that gasket in there, and then put the wall plate back on, all right? Now resist, please, 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 resist the urge to pack that box with insulation or even paper. Yes, I've seen it, folks. I've opened up boxes and seen it stuffed with newspaper, which just defies any kind of logic, whatever. That's a fire waiting to happen. So just put the gasket on and you'll be good, all right? If you're really ambitious, crawl up into your attic and then foam the holes where the pipes exit the top of the walls in the attic. Now you go up there and you're going to see the electrical pipes coming out of the floor of the attic, depending how much insulation you have. So crawl over to that spot. Be careful then. And move the insulation back, and you'll see where the pipes go down in the top plate of the wall, and there'll be big holes there. They always do. Foam those. Again, use that red flame retardant foam to foam that up, and then put your insulation back, okay? That'll take care of a lot. And then you want to go around the light fixtures, the boxes. You can go and you can foam around those also, and that'll help you keep drafts out. A big one in the attic, you got a plumbing shaft wall where your stack comes up and goes up the roof, your vent pipe. Those holes are notoriously huge. You may even need to put some like sheet metal around that a little bit and then foam it if the hole's too big or whatever, because the foam will just keep falling down. That shaft right there is going to be open from your attic all the way down to your basement, and all that hot air from the attic can get right down in there, cold air too, whatever. So make sure you seal that up. And again, fire stop foam. You go down to your basement, and any penetration that comes through the floor, you got to think that there's pipes and stuff that go through your outside walls. There's outside light fixtures that go on an outside wall and stuff, and drafts can get in through there. It's going to come through the walls and through from each bay, and where the electrical pipes or plumbing pipes go through each stud, there's going to be a hole. Now, when I build, the code says you have to foam with the fire stop foam any vertical to horizontal space. So if I'm coming from the basement up the wall, it turns into a vertical to a horizontal underneath the floor. So that's got to be done. But it does not say anything about foaming each stud where the pipes go through vertical space to vertical space to vertical space, or horizontal to horizontal, horizontal. It doesn't say anything about doing that. I, as a matter of practice, always do that. I foam every penetration in every hole that I can possibly find. So because it carries from one bay, the space between the studs, from one bay to another, and it's going to go from attic through the walls down the basement. So when you're down in the basement, look up in the ceiling, and all the holes that go up into the floor, foam around those things, because those are going to be connected up into a bay, who's going to be connected up to another bay, which is going to be connected up to the ceiling, which is going to be connected up to the attic. So just the more you can seal, the better you're going to be off there. So this is a great way. Sealing your home up is a great way to save the energy dollars. All right. It's not really easy to prove exactly how much you saved, because everything's always changing. You're in and out of the house more or less. It's just outside conditions are always changing. It's not something you can really measure, okay? But rest assured that the less that furnace or AC is running, the more money that you're going to save in the end. So, and that's what this is all about, right? Cutting the bills, cutting expenses, and that. So, as always, if you want a complete yearly home maintenance checklist, jump over to contractorjohn.com, follow me, and I'll send you that yearly home maintenance list. And if you're out there listening today and you want that cheat sheet, just, again, hop over to Contractor John, top of the contractorjohn.com page. On the right-hand side, you'll see download cheat sheet. Just put your email address in there, hit submit, and I will send it back to you right away in an email. So if you need help around the house, then head over to Contractor John YouTube channel. I've got a pretty wide variety of DIY videos, and make sure if you find them useful, hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate all of my subscribers. I appreciate it very much. And as always, Facebook page. If you got questions, comments, something you don't understand or whatever, post it there, Contractor John Facebook page, and I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Well, that's it for today, kids. That's it for this episode. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining Contractor John here at DIYHousemedic.com. If you have comments or questions, please visit the Contractor John Facebook page. And for everything else, visit ContractorJohn.com.